Hey, it's Gothic with Combat Sports Supply. Today, I'm going to walk you through different types of BBs and which one is right for you and your gun. Alright, first thing we're going to talk about is .12s. .12s are what we generally refer to as toy Soft BBs. These are made for really cheap springers. The big thing about 12s, don't use them in high-end airsoft guns. If your gun costs more than like $100, never put 12s through it. They can tear up your hop up, they can tear up your bucking, they can just do all kinds of internal damage. So whatever you do, avoid these like a plague. The only real thing I've found to use for .12s is like, say, for airsoft claymores. The other thing they're good for is Thunder Beasts. So if you wind up with like the Thunder Devil, the little stick version, or even the original Thunder Bee, you can use those in them because of their lighter weight. If they get projected out, they tend to go a little bit farther. But other than that, don't use them in any regular guns. So the next weight of BBs I'm going to talk to you about is .20s. Since the very early days of airsoft, that was based out of Japan, 2.0 was like their go-to because of their legal restrictions. The rest of us in the world don't have that problem, so most of our guns nowadays, particularly because of the change in technology and everything else, we shoot much heavier BBs, but 2.0s are still around. A lot of guns come with like a little bag of .20s. Feel free to use them, just don't expect peak performance out of them. I wouldn't really recommend them for any like high-end guns. Generally speaking, 2.0s are only in really cheap spring-powered rifles, cheap shotguns, some pistols, grenades, that kind of thing. Other thing to be aware of with .20s, they are super light. So all of the like modern generation of performance guns, they're going to be really crap. They're light. They don't have a lot of accuracy. They're going to be really affected by wind. They're going to veer all over the place. They're going to be really hard to adjust your hop up. So if you have a modern gun, I would go with a heavier BB. So the next batch of BBs I'm going to talk to you about are .25s. So one of the main things to know about .25s, most pistols are actually made to shoot .25s. That's what they're manufactured for and tested with. Most rifles that you buy that are stock are also going to be geared to shoot .25s. So it's kind of an industry standard, but that's slowly switching over to what I will show you next, which is the .28. All right, okay, where's my 2.8?
All right. Any airsofter who's been in the game long enough knows that 2.8s are the way to go.
Yeah, I was just going to explain that to him. Yeah, I'm going to. Go back to work. Nice pants. All right, like Captain Sergeant Sexy said, .28s have kind of become the standard for most players nowadays. Most guys, when they get their gun, they put tight bores in or they change out their hop up. Generally speaking, they get more performance out of a .28. It's a little bit heavier than your standard 2.5s. So if you have some upgrades, it gives you better performance, range, and accuracy. So the next thing I'm going to talk to you about is 3s and 3.2s, or .30 and .32s. It's kind of a Ford and Chevy thing. Some guys will swear by 3.0s, some will swear by 3.2s. I personally have just found it depends on what mods you have in your gun or what gun you're shooting as to which will work best. Generally speaking, I recommend 3.0s just because I've seen the most consistent performance out of them. But if you have a really souped up gun, 3.2s could give you an advantage.
That's great. Okay. Alright. Biggest thing with 3.0s and 3.2s, big old events like Milsim West or American Milsim, they use the heavier BBs, partially because the weight with them, they won't be affected by branches or foliage. It's got enough power behind it to lob it out the end of your barrel and hit your target.
Dude, it's my video. Go be pretty in the corner. Sorry, guys. So now I'm going to talk to you about heavier weight BBs. This basically comes up from anything from .36 on up to .50. Most of those BBs you're not going to shoot out of a regular rifle unless you've done a lot of work to it and spent a lot of money. Most of these you see in the occasional HPA rig or sniper rifles, something that someone has invested a lot of time and money. So I wouldn't worry too much about them. Trying to shoot most of these out of a regular rifle, you're going to have issues. They're not going to be as accurate. You're not going to have a lot of range. So I would just kind of stay away from these until you decide to sink a lot of money into your gun. So when you're picking out the weight of BB that's right for you and your kit, always make sure to pay attention to what the manufacturer says. That'll give you an idea. And also pay attention to like reviews, talk to other airsofters, see what their experiences has been. because you can run one BB and your gun will perform very poorly. You run another BB and you're going to be spot on target every time. Your job as a player is going to be to figure out which one of them is best for your gun. All right, the last thing I'm going to talk to you about, if you're firing too heavy of a round, it'll actually greatly decrease your performance, your accuracy. So you don't want to fire anything too heavy, but find that perfect sweet spot that's a mix between the weight of your BB and your hop up, your barrel, whatever, that gives you the best performance, and then just stick to that. So closing thoughts, .12s, avoid them. They're not really worth it. .20s, they're good for really low-end guns, like really basic beginner guns and grenades. Other than that, they're not going to get you much performance in a higher-end weapon. All right, your next is going to be .28s, .25s. Those are going to be more or less the go-to for most players. Next up is going to be the 3.0 up to 3.2 and 3.6s. These are going to be for like your HVA guns, guns that are souped up, basic sniper rifles. So last but not least is going to be your 3.6s and up for BB weights. Those are going to be your high-end snipers, really souped up guns. You're not going to use these very often unless you invest a lot of money into your gear.
Don't be a fool!